I am back. I just know you couldn't wait to see my beautiful face again. Today, I'm going to be discussing something on a pretty personal level that I know a lot of people are dealing with at the moment. And that is losing all of your friends in general, not having friends at all. This is something I've just started really going through that's really hit me. And I think I just want to see if anyone else can relate to what I'm going through. So I had two people in my life that I considered my best friends for years, for a long time. One of them being someone I was best friends with starting from high school. Maybe not best friends at that time, but was definitely friends with from high school, and then like grew into what I consider like a best friendship from high school. I legitimately considered these people family in every aspect of the word. We spent holidays together, birthdays together. I was around their family for holidays. We were pretty close. And it really does take a lot out of me to consider someone, I guess, worthy enough to call them my best friend. But this is how strong the connection was with these two people. And notice I said like two people. It really did feel like a gut punch when these two friendships ended. I never like saw them coming or expected them, nor did I want to. I am a very loyal friend and like to keep friends for a very long time. I also believe that people don't think that friendships can be just as heartbreaking or relevant as romantic relationships, but they 100% can. When you're friends with someone for a long enough time, you will start to feel like, dang, we're really close. I can't see myself without this person in my life. Both were very heartbreaking for me, but there was definitely like two different feelings I had for each one. But I can honestly say both were like brewing. A lot of changes have been made in my life personally as I've grown up a little bit more. Life changes, things change, people change. Not everyone is going to adapt to those changes in your life the same way that you aren't going to necessarily adapt to everyone else's changes. Your goals and aspirations are going to change, and your friends' goals and aspirations are going to change. So this particular person I was friends with for a while. I was friends with them since high school, and from high school on we had a lot of fun together. We do a lot together. We had a whole friend group that was from high school that we just did, kid stuff with. Like, we were just young kids just hanging out. That was about it. And as we get older, things change. But as things progress, I was just noticing like silent, weird little animosities here and there. And it's not like the animosities you think. It's not obvious violence or anything like that. I feel like if you're in a friendship with someone, there's just certain things as a friend you shouldn't be doing to your friends. The biggest thing to me, which I find very important as a friend, while I've had friends, I've never once had friends and decided to insult the way they look or parts of their body as a joke or just a statement or opinion coming from my mouth. I'm not going to try and paint a picture or determine whether that type of behavior necessarily stems from jealousy, but if you are claiming to be my friend and you're constantly hurling insults at parts of my body as jokes, I mean, we all know this. That's not good friendship. We all know that's bad friendship, right? I'm a jokester. I love to joke around. I make jokes about myself. Shouldn't do that because that also entertains that behavior, like for people to engage in that behavior. But there just comes a point too, as women, like we know how hard it is to accept ourselves in this society. And having friends that don't understand that or don't want to understand it and that come for each other is just not healthy for me. Especially when I didn't ask for your opinion about how I look. Other thing too is I really think it's weird that you're friends with someone and you get mad when other people give them compliments and then try to make them look bad in front of our other friends. I don't know, maybe I'm just different, but even when I'm in like a relationship, I just don't feel like it's healthy to insult things people can't change. People can't really change stuff they were born with, how they look. I mean, people can change how they look, but would you really want to push someone to have to feel like they need to change parts of their body because you keep low-key like insulting them to that point, you know? And you're supposed to be their friend. After a certain point, that's when I realized I don't want to have friends in my life that's their way of showing affection. Another thing that kind of changed the dynamic of this particular friendship was they got married and had a kid. I don't care if my friends have kids. I have nieces. I have nothing against children. It was never an issue for me that they had kids. But even prior to having children's situation, I started to feel this negligence within the friendship where nobody else and their celebrations, achievements, problems mattered besides just theirs. It just was starting to feel very one-sided. Once I started to feel very one-sided, I knew that there's no way I'm going crazy, but still, I wanted to keep the friendship going, so I pushed. I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and so it was like, maybe it's just me tripping. I gotta start understanding that these people have, you know, a kid now. Can't expect too much from them. I started to realize that there was a deeper issue within their personal life that really has nothing to do with me, that I wanted no part of, and that it may have been time for me to step away from the situation, because there was a few times where I've tried to mend the situation and work on it and talk through things, and from the other side of things, I was hearing, I did nothing wrong to you, I don't know what you're talking about, and that's not true. And that is where you lose me, because if we're trying to work things out, it shouldn't be a constant finger pointing fest or back and forth of who is wrong and who is right. After I heard that, I was simply like, yeah, I'm done. I just realized that some people don't need me in their life. Usually people would say, oh, they don't deserve you in their life. I don't even say stuff like that. I try to see both sides of the story. I try to see both sides of everything. I feel so much better now that I am not within that friendship. I know sometimes I can be emotional with certain things, but the worst feeling I had was having friends and still feeling so alone on a daily basis every day. It just didn't feel good. Most of my birthdays were no longer celebrated. Fine, whatever, I get it. We're getting older, things are changing, we work a lot. I didn't even take stuff like that too personal, but there was so many other feelings within that of isolation that I had to really ask myself, why am I even calling these people my friends? I'm gonna move on to the next friend. I wanna say everything was fine until I decided to adjust my life outside of how we were living before. I just moved out of the scene we were in prior, and I wasn't feeling much support from that end in regards to upgrading and changing my life. By that point, that would have been my second friendship within the year that had ended. The last one I ended, but this one I was not really given an explanation as to why it was ended. And honestly, that's okay. We're not all gonna stay friends forever. We're not all gonna be, you know, buddy forever. I just would have preferred an explanation and a farewell, but things don't always work that way. With all of these situations, I always come back to myself and really try to track back and say, okay, what did I do wrong as Sydney? Like, what could I have done better? What may have been done why this person doesn't want anything to do with me, or doesn't want to talk to me, or is throwing a tantrum, or is being nasty? To sum this up, it felt like I was disposed of almost immediately the moment I started to adjust my life in the direction I wanted to. It's not like it was any negative direction I was going to. It was pretty positive direction, but there was definitely a misunderstanding brewing, and it came to an abrupt end, and I would see it as we both chose to go our separate ways. Okay, now that story time is done, I will tell you where this is leading to. In those two instances, I am not in complete regret that those friendships ended when they did and in the way that they did. It had to happen, and I see it as the universe guiding me where I need to be guided. Because how will I ever find my tribe if I'm in all the wrong ones, right? I need to find my people, unfortunately, by detoxing the people that were holding me back emotionally and spiritually and mentally. And I always hear that everything is a season, has its seasons. People are in your life in the seasons that they belong in your life, and that's how I see it. Certain people were for a certain season in my life, and I enjoyed their presence and company in those certain seasons of my life. I don't regret any of those friendships. I don't regret those experiences. I see it as I needed an opportunity to grow, and that little friend detox was my opportunity to grow. It was so hard for me to grow outside of the mindset of both of those circles and friendships and friend groups, to the point I was limiting myself and what I was wanting to do in my life. I felt like I was too comfortable, and any mindset they had or any opinions and observations they made, I really took them to heart and listened to them. And I'm usually a very independent minded person, but people are going to influence you here and there where they can, indirectly and directly, and sometimes you don't even realize you're being influenced. But I had to de-influence myself out of that and then re-influence myself to do more. Now that I'm feeling this period of a little bit of isolation from not having those best friends, I have focused more on my self development, my art, my future, and my aspiration. I am more focused and driven on what I need to get done in order to be successful and in order to make myself happy. Also, no longer sitting stressed and anxious and upset and hurt by someone saying and doing certain things. I've learned to harden up even more after that friendship came to a close. So now I don't take things personally from people. Before I was so sensitive, but I think it was a little worse because, again, that was my friend and I didn't expect him to talk to me that way or treat me that way. But now even more that I'm, I don't have a lot of friends or don't have many friends at all, I can focus on myself. I can focus on my happiness, and I don't have to worry about who's saying what about me or what someone thinks about me at all. I just think about what I think about me, and I love myself. And this is just me trying to convince you guys to accept the fact of what's going on and embrace it and see it as a positive, because most people that have really been talking about not having friends, I think a lot of people have been talking about it in a place of relief. Not to say that's the best take on it, but it does feel like relief to not have negativity in your space and brain and mind anymore. Insulting your friends is negativity. Trying to tell someone what to do with their life and not wanting them to do what they're doing with their life and going against it, that's negative. There's so much negativity that we don't realize that we may be inputting into our friends' lives, that maybe it takes you guys stepping away from each other for a little bit or even permanently for things to change. Sometimes it just has to happen, and that's how I see it. And not everything needs a dang revival. Just because you stopped being friends with someone many moons ago does not mean that now that you're both in a better mindset and situation, 3 years from now you guys gotta regroup and be friends again. No one's saying you can't be cordial with that person, but y'all do not need to go on a friendship roller coaster, up and downs, and break apart and get back together constantly. I personally don't want to normalize that type of behavior. I think it's the definition of insanity. I think it's pretty insane if you guys keep breaking up as friends and then getting back and breaking up as friends. You have to at some point realize there's a lack of compatibility there. And I may not have like any like super close best friends that I talk to every day or do things with every day, but I do have a few acquaintances that I've known for a few years that I am just cordial with, and I hear from every now and then and go back and forth conversation wise all the time. You guys kind of need to stop throwing this word friends around so loosely as well, and I even have to unlearn it because there's tiers to friendship, there's levels to friendship. So I'm not so open to just being friends with everyone, because I just see it as something that needs to be vetted. Like, it has to go through a vetting process for us to be friends. Like, who are you really for me to have you in my deepest part of my mind and in my home around my pets? You know, I've learned that friends are gonna come and go, and that was a rough lesson to learn in my youth right now. But no one talks about how hard it is, especially like in your 20s, when that's where you're at, where you're like, oh, I've lost all my friends, I don't have any friends right now, or all my friends are acting funky and I can't really make new friends, you know? But it forces you to not be complacent with the life and the friends you have, so that you're more adventurous and again, you find your tribe. So I cannot say I regret any of it, that I regret the loss of friendships. The loss of my old friendships have created new interactions and potential new friends. And I don't harp or hold people to a friendship the moment I meet them. I'm not intense about making new friends. Now I'm just very like, oh, I'm open to meeting new people. If we become friends, we click, cool. If not, it was really nice meeting you. I understand that a lot of people want to have a support system, and they see things on social media and they want to be and engage with people in the same manner and have the same lives as others, and having a big friend group is impressive to some people. But you guys don't understand that social media is not real life, and that there are so many things on social media that are fake, including the friend groups. And this is probably why I'm alone as a friend for the most part right now, is because my standards for friendship is maybe high. I treat my friendships how I'd probably treat my romantic relationships. I see them in similar nature as far as treatment. I don't believe in any type of abuse to my friends, verbal, mental, or physical. So when I hear some of the stuff that goes on in some of these friendships, I'm just like, but we're friends. Like, why would you hit your friend? Why would you, tell your friend that they look, whatever? That's your friend, right? Maybe that's why I don't have friends, because I'm not into that. I also think there is something to be said about someone that has too many friends, or is friends with everyone and anyone immediately, is that they are most likely not loyal to any of the friends. I've witnessed that again firsthand, and I'm sure you guys have heard that before, but I'm just now realizing how real that is. It's a little bit of a challenge here. It really is a little bit of a challenge here. And I don't judge anyone. Some people are extroverted and they're good at making friends. But you have to look out for certain behaviors in which, like, oh, this person just met this person yesterday and they're already calling them your friend. What do you know about this person for them to be your friend? You don't know a dang thing, and that's not your friend. I'm sorry, that's not your friend. So what are we doing here? I will say acquaintance core is my thing right now. I do not mind having a lot of acquaintances at all, because it keeps me just close enough. I feel like knowing too much is where I have to draw the line, and what got me here in the first place, and just getting too close, unfortunately. And I don't mind getting close ever again with someone and having them as my best friend, but there just needs to be certain lines drawn and certain boundaries set for a friendship to work. If you call someone your friend, you must respect their boundaries. And even if you don't know it's a boundary, before you open your mouth and say something, or before you lift your head to do something, really think about what you're saying and doing and be like, how would I feel if my friend did this to me? Is this okay for a friend to be doing to their friend? I feel there's a lack of self-awareness a lot of times with certain behaviors within friendships. The last point I'll make here is to look out for certain red flags early on and really hold yourself to those red flags. Do not brush them under the rug like we all do. We love to brush red flags under the rug, hide them like they're nothing, and try to either fix them or act like they're no big deal. But there were so many red flags within any friendships I've ended or that have ended that, like, when I saw them as a red flag in the beginning, I was like, nah, I'm overthinking it. And then it always came back in the end to revisit and bite me. Always. Certain red flags, especially in the beginning of the friendship, even the middle, if you're still seeing them too, you're not going to be capable of changing those things out of those people, especially if they're an adult. They're just certain things that people have, and that's just who they are. But what we're not going to do is enable bad behavior because we want a friend. All that does is teach that person that when they disrespect you or act a certain way, that you are very forgiving of it, and that it's obviously not that big of a deal. So it will always revisit, and it will always be a problem in the future. I would say the biggest one to make note of, I'm sure you guys have heard this a dozen times, jealous friends. I don't care how you try to pretty it up, jealous friends are dangerous. They're just dangerous. There's nothing else to say about it. Anyone who is jealous of you cannot be trusted. That's a red flag that people try to brush under the rug. I've done it where I've seen it and said, that seems like very jealous behavior, but maybe I'm tripping. Nah, it was jealous behavior, and it continued to get worse and worse, and it ended our friendship. You don't want a jealous friend. Another note, you also have to learn to be a good friend yourself in order to attract good friends. And you can be a good friend, an absolutely great friend, and attract terrible friends. So not to say that just because you're a good friend, you're only going to attract good people. Try to be a good friend, but be a good friend to the right people. And this is, again, why boundaries are so important. That's it. Now that I've spent some time self-reflecting for a while, I have a decent set of boundaries that will stop me from having terrible friendships in the future. I no longer am in fear of meeting certain people because I know my boundaries and I know what I'm comfortable with and I know what I'm not going to allow. So I know that when I'm meeting someone and I'm hearing certain things, I can be like, yeah, nope, not for me, or, oh, I actually like that. That's about it. That's about it. All in all, I've enjoyed all the memories that the friends I've had have given me. It's just time for a new chapter in my life to meet my tribe. And maybe I won't be a tribe of anybody, but there's a new chapter in my life right now for me and new things I'm doing and want to do. So unfortunately, I have to leave certain drama and certain energies behind. And that will help a lot of you guys too with going through these instances where you are losing certain friends you've had for a long time, or losing all your friends. Just think of it as a factory reset. You are factory resetting your life. You're factory resetting your relationships. You're factory resetting everything. It has to happen every now and then. The market has to correct itself. So with that being said, I wish you many beautiful new relationships and friendships, and I wish you all a beautiful life.